Hey guys, it's Bowling here and welcome to another deck profile video. And this time I will be talking about my Rebirth Toolbox control deck. And I also want to go a bit more in depth about this deck and also about the other topic we have today and how to pick a deck for a tournament. And for those of you who are just here for the cards in the deck, for the deck profile itself, there you go. Feel free to use it, to tweak it to your own likings. There are quite a lot of flex spots in my opinion, um, as always in a toolbox deck. So yeah, experiment with it and enjoy. And for the others who are here for a bit more in-depth Duel Masters content, enjoy the wait. um, so first of all, this deck I used it in the Championship IDC 4. So the Championship IDC is held 2 times per year, and you have 5 tournaments, 5 normal IDC tournaments before that to qualify. So Championship IDC is an invitational only tournament. So that you gather points around a season, and the top 8 players with the most points are getting an invite for the Championship IDC. So in this small tournament, you are facing 7 other players, and usually you know these players because you either played against them beforehand, or you at least know what decks they played, because all the decks in the tournaments will be gathered by our either judges or tournament organizers, and are being posted on our Discord, so you know exactly what your opponents have been playing in the last couple of tournaments. And what you do before going into such a tournament, you just write down what your opponents could be playing, of course, because it's very important to pick the right deck with such a small field. You can basically face like 5 or 6 opponents out of 7 in this tournament, so you have to be prepared for every matchup, but um, at the start you only can face like 4 other opponents out of the 7, and we will get to that right now. And here you see the list of players to the left, 1 to 8, in the order how many points they had during the season. And behind the names, I wrote the decks which they could be playing in the Championship IDC. Of course, these players have also been playing something else. I think Hymner was playing some sort of Dolmox Mana Burn or some Armorloid, like in an IDC like 10 months ago or something, but I didn't wrote it down because I found it highly unlikely that he would have played such a deck. And yeah, I also after writing down all of the decks, I crossed out some decks which are unlikely being played. So first of all, the format is that the top 4 players are set in stone. They cannot face each other in the first round, and the bottom 4 players, 5 through 8, are being shuffled, and and they are randomly ordered to face one of the um, first 4 people. So Mohamed, Hymne, Pitikman, and me could face either Claude, either Helfer, either Solomon, or either Xboom for this tournament. This was a rule we decided at like CIDC 4. It of course favors people who are only known for like 1 or 2 decks. But yeah, it is what it is. So we just have to go with it. So with me being in 8th place, I have to prepare for either Claude, Halfa, Solomon, or Xboom in round 1. So let's just look at Claude first. He only played like 2 decks, the Water Darkness aggro deck and the Hydro Hurricane deck. So pretty obvious that either one of those decks he would have picked, and I crossed out Hydro Hurricane because there was, I think, a dispute between Claude and a small dispute between Claude and Darksigner like a week before the tournament, about where Water Darkness aggro stands on the tier list, or what plays against other top decks. And I also, like, not a week ago, but a month ago or so, also had a dispute with him about Water Darkness aggro, and I was pretty sure that he wanted to prove that Water Darkness aggro is a force to be known. So I crossed out Hydro Hurricane. I was pretty sure he was going to play the Water Darkness aggro deck. On second Alpha, I crossed out Arcadeas because he already won a championship IDC with the stack, so there was no reason for him to pick it again. And he played quite a lot of Mana Burn and also some Survivor games. So either of those he would have picked, in my opinion, for this tournament. Solomon played quite a lot of Turbo Mana Burn before the tournament, but he also wrote in the Discord that this deck bricks really hard, and I was sure that he was not going to play it. I could have written it down, but yeah. Also a player known for the Light Water Darkness Nature, Mana Burn, and Fire Nature Rush. And X-Boom again has already won with Fire Nature Rush, has already won a championship IDC 2, I think, with Fire Nature Rush, so I crossed it out too. And he was most likely going to play either Rug Aggro or Light Water Darkness deck out. So yeah, this was quite a challenging bracket in my opinion, because we have like 3 fast aggro decks in Water Darkness aggro, Fire Nature Rush, and Rug aggro, and we have like 3 very heavy control decks with 2 Fortress Burn and 1 Light Water Darkness deck out. So you had to pick a deck which can beat fast aggro and beat slow and heavy control, which is quite hard to find. Also you have like the Survivor in the mix, which can beat like any control deck, in my opinion. Yeah, so really hard to go against them. And also you have to keep in mind that if you are either winning or losing the first round, you can also face like the 5, 4, 6, and 7th spot too. So you just can't ignore the other spots as well. And yeah, for the other players, Mohamed Ali was of course picking Phobos, the same with Pittingman, only known for Firewater aggro. This was pretty self-explanatory, and with Hymne it was a bit more complicated. I think he's also one of the players like me who's playing a lot of decks, and yeah, the last IDC before the championship IDC he won with Light Water Darkness Nature mid-range with like 4 Ice Vapor, 4 Skysword. So you have something against control and have something against aggro. But I figured that he wouldn't really play this deck because he had a success with it, played it like in an IDC once, won with it, and I think he didn't want to woo in this good showing of the deck. So going 0-2 and just immediately being eliminated with the deck he won last IDC with is not something you would want as a player, so I figured that he wouldn't play this deck. And so we are left with the Lightwater Alzonius, Hydro Hurricane, and also the Merfolk version. Yeah, and also when you are facing like the top 4 opponents, they are most likely also having the same thoughts about the bottom 4 players. So looking at Pittigman, which can play aggro, but the others are like most exclusively known for either mid-range or control. I will think that the top 4 players are picking something which are good against mid-range and control. This was just my thought process. So with that, picking a deck is yeah, because I play a lot of decks. I had like 5, 6, or 7 decks which I could have played, but I decided for like the Rebirth Toolbox control here, because I figured with the toolbox aspect, you can have everything. You can have something against fast aggro, against slow aggro, against mid-range, and against control and heavy control in one deck. So I really wanted to play a toolbox deck, and Rebirth is just a card for that. And yeah, that's why I went for this. Also looking at like the other choices I had, the last two CID seeds which I participated, I played Ruby deck out, so I didn't want to pick it again to be yeah, so the other players couldn't like figure it out what I play, but or if they are figuring out, okay, the last two CIDCs he played Ruby deck out, I would play something else. So maybe if they play something like for Ice Vapor because they think I'm on heavy control, Mohamed Ali is also on Forwest, and maybe Hymne is on Hydro Hurricane. Playing like 3-4 Ice Vapor is really good. And the card Rebirth itself is really, really good against Ice Vapor. You just play it on the Ice Vapor, get your Fal out, get your own Ice Vapor out, and just mitigate the one card discard and one card mana burn. And also like Halfa and Solomon and also X-Boom could play like the really slow control, the mana burn, and the Light Water Darkness deck out. Ruby deck out doesn't have like a really good matchup against this. You auto lose against Mana Burn, and with the Light Water Darkness deck out, you also don't have a good matchup because you have your fire cards, which are most likely exclusively against aggro. Maybe like only Berserker Zeal Dragon is also good against the Light Water Darkness version, but he doesn't play fires, so he can be a bit more greedy against other control decks. Yeah, so I feared like the mana burn aspect. That's why I also played Fortress Shell with the Rebirth. Because yeah, opponents playing Fortress Shell, you play Rebirth on their Fortress Shell, get your own Fortress Shell out. It's just a huge advantage play, and that's why I went for these for 3 Fortress Shells too. And I also figured that the Phobos colors are pretty good against aggro. So if the players are all picking aggro, I would have still a fighting chance with the burst shot, with the sky swap plays, and so on. So yeah, this was basically my thought process here. And going into the tournament, Claude played Water Darkness aggro as expected. I expected Halfa to play Fortress Burn, but he surprised me a little by playing the Darkness Fire Nature Survivor. Darksigner played this version in, I think, CIDC 3 or 2, maybe 3, and went 0-2, so I thought Halfa didn't want to do the same, but he picked it. Went 0-2 too, but yeah, what can you do? And yeah, Solomon going with Fire Nature Rush, X-Boom going with Rug Aggro, Mohamed Ali and Pitikman, of course, the decks I wrote down, and Hymne with Hydro Hurricane. Yeah, tournament itself, I finished 4th place, winning against Survivor and Hydro Hurricane. Pretty good matchups, which we can see shortly why it is a good matchup, and losing to 2 fast aggro decks. So yeah, this was basically my thought process going into CIDC 4 and how to pick a deck for this tournament, and you can basically use this information maybe for yourself when playing with your friends in an even smaller environment, when you have like 2 or 3 friends you are playing with. Maybe you don't have to be that competitive then, but yeah, some people like to win. And yeah, it's basically because we are such a small community, and this is such a small tournament, writing things down and picking accordingly is very important. And yeah, so going back to the deck profile, I knew I wanted to play something with Rebirth and a toolbox deck, and I know that Louis, fellow member from our German Duel Masters community, has multiple Rebirth Toolbox decks. So I asked him to send me like I think he has 3 decks. He sent me all 3, and one of the decks you see here now. And this was basically the starting point for me. I never played these decks before. I of course played some Rebirth Toolbox decks in the Grub version. Maybe even Wave Strike I play Fear Rebirth, but I don't think you would call it a toolbox deck. It's pretty straightforward. But yeah, never played like these color combination. At least the control variants. So yeah, getting like a starting point was really good. And the first thing I do when getting a list, I'm just testing it against Fire Nature Rush, because it is something you have to check if your deck is Fire Nature Rush proof or not. And this deck basically has an abysmal matchup against Fire Nature Rush. You just lose. You can't do much. And the first thing I did is to tweak the deck a bit to be more Fire Nature Rush and also fast aggro proof. But that's it with the testing. I'm just not the guy who's testing against like Fortress Burn or something, doing some 30 minutes testing matchups. It's just too exhausting. Then I'm just not testing, only theorizing about it. But with Fire Nature Rush, you can boot it up the game, and in 3 minutes you know if you are good against it or not. It's just 3 minutes, one game, and go next and play like 10 minutes. That's it. So yeah, it's pretty easy to do. So first thing I did was adding one more Sky Sword, was adding one more Burst Shot, one more Juliana, and 2 Locos. Now I will just go to the new deck profile again, just switching a bit. So as you see, I added those cards, and yeah, I like to play the Giga Balls and Locomotive as split against Hydro Hurricane. Sometimes they play Loco, sometimes they play Giga Balsa, and there are some cases where their Petrova is calling either Hydreion or Chimera, so you can fetch your matching creature accordingly. So yeah, this was the first thing I did. I removed some suboptimal cards in my opinion, like Scheming Hands, for example, some Mecha Dragon's Breath I didn't need. Also like the Magrus, for example, he played it of course as a 4-drop target. I had the Loco and Giga Balsa, which are better of course against Fast Aggro and Rush for the target. And yeah, removing Misthias, removing Garlek. So just consolidating a bit here. Garlek, of course, really good card, but in the spot of Garlek, I also played Photosite, which won me, which single-handedly won me the Hydro Hurricane matchup. Just killing opponents, Misthias, getting out your Photosite, and that was game basically. And yeah, this deck has a really good matchup against Hydro Hurricane. And yeah, I also added more Phobos because I was expecting, of course, Ali on Phobos, and of course, killing the opponent's Phobos for your own Phobos is again a really strong play. So that's why I added 2 more Phobos, and I also added 1 more Fortress Shell. Now looking back at it, I of course didn't need like the 3 Fortress Shell because none of the opponents played it. But still, I would go for 2, maybe like 2 Fortress and 1 Cryptic Totem for the spot. But yeah, I think 3 Fortress is fine when playing against Mana Burn. You have to see this card, and if like one is getting stuck in the shield and the other one, I don't know, is either in your mana zone or something, then your Rebirth is just not doing anything, which can frequently happen. So yeah. The third one was pretty important to me. Also Ghastly Drain I removed. I put in like 2 Ice Vapor because I feel Ghastly Drain is not good against aggro, of course. And Ice Vapor is also not good against aggro, and I would rather have the Ice Vapor against control than the Ghastly Drain against control. Because surprisingly, some controls can turn on you really fast, like when they have some fortresses, some files, some forbos out, like a quick Baza or something, or a fighter dual fang, and swinging for your shields. When you pick up 3 shields, for example, you're only having 2 left, or when you play the Sky Sword, you're only having 3 left. They can turn really fast, like just 1-2 fortresses burn you a bit, and then just swing in. Yeah, Ghastly Drain didn't really work for me in theory for me, and yeah, I didn't need it at all in the tournament, and I was fine with like playing the Ice Vapor in the spot. Also, undermining the toolbox aspect. You can't rebirth for Ghastly Drain. You can rebirth for Ice Vapor. Yeah, so looking back at the deck, I lost against 2 fast aggro decks, but I can't see putting up more defensive stuff here. And I also play 51 cards instead of his 50 cards because I needed like 1 more light mana, and I couldn't cut like anything else because like the mana color consistency was like around 91% or 93 and on all the 3 colors except light, and light was at like 87 or something. And just adding like 1 more light mana get me to like 90, and the others dropped down by like 0.5% or maybe a bit more. So I was in total over 90% in each of the civilizations, and of course cutting something else for light was not really necessary. So yeah, for the mana consistency I played 51 cards, but yeah, I couldn't also just cut like a fortress, cut a Juliana, cut like an Ice Vapor and another fire card to have like the same result basically. You just cut like 1 card from every mana color. You can bring your total deck count down, so you're a bit better against aggro, seeing your most important cards on time. But again, would be worse against control. So I figured 51 cards was fine. Didn't want to go for 47, for example. Yeah. Yeah, I think there's like nothing more to say really. Yeah, the 2 losses were a bit unlucky. Didn't see the cards, but that's also with the toolbox deck something you have to expect with. Sometimes you just have the wrong half of your deck. Sometimes you draw Juliana against control, sometimes you draw Lost Soul against aggro, sometimes you don't see like any Sky Sword in your game, sometimes you, I don't know, don't see like any rebirth against pretty juicy 5-drop targets. It is what it is sometimes. So yeah, but rebirth definitely the MVP won me Hydro Hurricane matchup and also Survivor matchup, killing like either the factory shell for your Phobos or the Grave Worm for your file, getting back rebirth, playing rebirth again on the Grave Worm. I think there was a 3 sequence turn against Alpha where I played like 3 rebirths into 3 files and getting the rebirth back every time. Back to back, and he could only play like the 1 Grave Worm back. He had like 2 Grave Worms in cycle, and just kept his board clear, and yeah, pumping my board and just turning sideways and attacking. I didn't need like any Cryptic Totem or Fighter Dual Fang for some extra push, for some extra reach. I hit the Baza, which was enough. Yeah. So yeah, this was the deck profile video. So again, thanks for Louis for sending me the core of his deck. And yeah, if you have any questions or your own suggestions on how to change your deck, please write it down below. And yeah, just one more thought. I had the Searing Wave to Blizzard, but switched it back since I took out the Ghastly Drain to still have access to your shields if something like your photo sight gets snared. Against Hydro Hurricane, you really want it back, your Searing Wave, the photo sight, and get it back with more, but so just a small detail too. So yeah, leave a comment down below, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.